And we are rolling on the 23rd day of August, where we are at UCLA, where the sunshine is shining. Jane is looking around, making sure all computers are closed, that laptops and telephones are away. All eyes are upon her. She looks around and says to herself, and means it, I respect my audience. Power stance, feet a little wider apart, so you're a tripod. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hello everyone, my name is Jane.
Hi, Jane.
People can do something by themselves, and they tell you you can't do it. And don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do it. Not even me. The words in the film inspired me a lot. Whenever I want to give up and or feel upset. Today I want to show you the film. Really moved me a lot. The pursuit of happiness. It made me feel sad, made me feel lucky, and inspired me a lot. The first way it moved me a lot is that it really made me feel sad because there is one plot in the film that the leading character Chris. His wife left him, and she takes away their son, and he had to pay a large number of money, money of parking tickets, and he had to stay in the jail for a day, and which would probably make him miss the interview next day. It reminds me of the period before my university entrance examination, which I think is one of the most important thing in my life. At that time, my grades and the ranking fell down, and my health is not very good. I feel very helpless, and I don't know what to do. When I see Chris, he squatted down on the road, and he didn't know what to do next. The helpless really brought me back to that time, which made me feel very sad. And
Good.
The second way it really moved me is that it made me feel very lucky, because through the film I can feel the great love and deep trust between the father and son. They very trust each other, which remind me of my family. Following the first incident, when my parents found me that I was near the point of breakdown, they told me a lot about their love, and the respect for me. They said that they didn't want me to have too much pressure. All they expect is that I can live happily and safely, which made me feel very lucky. I have so great parents. And the third one is that it really inspired me, because maybe my parents didn't want me to have too much pressure. So they think that any university I got in, it's fine, it's okay, but I want to be better. I want to face more challenges. So I have higher goals. But they said that you can't make it. You should be realistic. And the words in the film occurred to me that don't ever let someone tell you that you can't make it. So I replied my parents with the words in the film that people who can't do something by themselves, they tell you that you cannot do it. And I believe that I can make it if I want. I told this to my parents. So in summary, I have shown 3 ways the film moved to me. It made me feel sad, feel lucky, and it inspired me a lot. The film really teaches me a lot, and every time I face the difficulties, I will think of this film. You can. I think that if you want to do something, just do it. Don't mind someone don't mind what others said. Try your best and do your best. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting respectfully at the door. Let's start in the front today. Let's start here.
Hi, I'm Mickey.
Hi, Mickey.
I feel like when you were talking, you were really feeling the emotions that you were feeling, and I feel like I really enjoyed that because it felt more real. So you did a really good job with that.
Okay. Improvement.
Hi everybody, I'm Dorota.
Hi, Dorota.
Made me feel a little more eye contact and slow down when you speak. Also.
Yes, let's talk about that for just a moment. When you faced this way and looked over there and took a step that way, do glance back over at them and don't completely exclude that side of the room. When you're facing over at this side, glance over at them and give them a look. Same with the middle, and when you're looking over here, glance over there so you never ever totally excluding any part of the room. Jane, I liked your speech, I liked the topic, and I liked the film that you chose, and I liked the way you personalized it. You started with the most famous quote in the movie, and the one that people take away: stay in the power stance, feet wider than your shoulders. Good. The takeaway line, you know, and so that was helpful. Sadly, you skipped your significant statement. So remember, after you say sad, lucky, and inspired, say this film deals with a lot of themes, and this is where you put in your film review, right? You say this film was reviewed, and this critic said this, and I agree, or I disagree. So remember to put that in. It's okay. You know, we all have little things we miss. On your first emotion, you communicated to us that you felt sad, and the sadness that you told us about was that you were really freaking out when you were taking your university entrance exams because you were tired and sick and it wasn't going well. And when you saw how downtrodden Chris was in the movie, it reminded you of how downtrodden. And you returned to the emotion, which I really like. You said, and this is why I felt sad. So that was perfectly feeling and sensing your emotion and bringing it back. So that was done well. On Lucky, you told us that your parents, when they saw you near breakdown, that they said, Jane, take a chill pill. We'll love you no matter where you go to school. And we want you to be safe and happy. And so that was, you need to just remember to say, and that's why I felt so lucky to have my parents that I have. Remember that's the emotion you're communicating. Uninspired, you told us that your parents said, just, go wherever, and you said, no, I'm going to, strive for more, and don't let you or anybody tell me I can't do it. So I like that you stood up to your parents and you incorporated the message from the movie, which was good. Your summary was fine. The conclusion should have been, there should be no doubt in this room the pursuit of happiness really moved me, and it taught me a lot, okay? And your tie back was fine. Your canais were to speak more frequently. I don't know what that means. Does that mean quicker? And more confident and more eye contact. How did it go?
It seems that not going very well.
Mhm.
But I try to eye contact, but it's maybe not too much.
Okay. I thought you did a nice job, and I thought the eye contact you were trying, and I thought the movement where you were trying to focus on this group over here and then that side over there was a good effort. So that was well done. One thing I want you to try to think about doing is you go to this side, then end up back in the center. Don't end up on the side. You want to end up back in the middle when you finally end. But overall, Jane, nice job. Thank you. Okay, that'll bring us to Tracy. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
How you doing? Oh, nice. Oh, I like the big print. It's easier to read. Thank you. Okay, close the computers. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Tracy stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, fighting friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
When you have a tumor, you just cut it off. This is a quote from Dun, a young female Chinese cartoonist who died of cancer at her 20s. During the last few months of her life in the hospital, she drew the cartoons as her fighting cancer diary and put them online. After her death, the story was changed into a movie, and it entered for a Best Foreign Language Oscar Award on behalf of China last year, which many people strongly disagree with. And today, I want to share with you this film called Go Away, Mr. Tumor. The movie really moved me in 3 ways. It made me feel happy, it made me cry, and it inspired me. Liu Wen from Xinhua once said that the movie constantly shifts between the hope of love, the hope for life Dun gives us, and the pain she suffers from cancer. It really makes you laugh and cry and laugh again until finally you just melt the tears in your eyes. And I can't agree more on this review.
Good.
So the first way this film moved me was that it made me feel happy. When Dun lost all her hair because of the side effects, her friends shaved all their heads just to cheer her up. And it reminds me of the message one of my friends sent to me in the middle of the night when I was so depressed and disappointed on my major. She said that, Tracy, you're the kind of girl that refuses to conform and desire changes in your life. And you just keep that in mind. And others' opinions and others' expectations are not just that important. So I really felt that I was being loved and being supported by my friends, and it really makes me happy.
Good.
And the second way this film moved me was that it made me cry. When Xiong's parents was informed by the doctor that there are only few months left for her, the father told the mother to go back and look after her, and he went to the supermarket to buy something. When he stood in front of the shelf, in front of the potato chips, and slowly read into the words on the package, he held against the shelf and couldn't help crying. It really breaks my heart to see this shot. It reminds me of the first time my father saw me off at the airport for my new semester. He didn't talk much. In fact, he doesn't talk much at the usual days. But when I was saying goodbye to him and he turned around to leave, I saw him wiping his eyes. When he thought I wasn't looking, I suddenly realized that I might missed out a lot of details on that. When we were living together, we always pick fight at each other. And sometimes I just don't want to talk to him. But deep down in my heart, at that moment, I felt that he really loved me. He just doesn't know how to express it. And the third way this film moved me was that it inspired me. The incident in the film that made me inspired was the funeral video of Xiongdun. She said that God gives you every struggle for a reason. And please remember that to love and to be loved are the most important thing and wonderful things in the world. It reminds me of my promise to my mother after my grandmother's funeral. She said to me with tears in her eyes that she allows me to wallow in my grief for only a week, and after that, I should travel around. I should try new things elsewhere, and I should love the one I want to love. And I should take that as her dying wish after her death. There are losings in our life, and the only thing we should do is to cherish the love and keep going. We all have to die one day, and there's no point in wasting our time doing the things we don't want to do. So there's no doubt that this film really moved me. And I think there is a reason why they sent this film instead of other big budget movies to the Oscar. And I think it was a nice try. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hi, Tracy.
What's your name?
My name's Maria. Hi.
Hi, Maria.
So I liked your intro because you opened up with something that was kind of shocking and that kind of grabbed our attention right away. Your gestures were really good. You made great eye contact, I think, and you filled up the space. So well done.
Thank you.
Improvement? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
I thought when you started off, you were talking a little fast, but then I think towards the end you got more comfortable and you slowed down a little bit. So yeah, just for next time.
Okay, yes. Your opening was a grabber. It was unexpected. It was shocking. When you have a tumor, just cut it off. You know, pretty shocking. You know, clearly not dinner talk. So you really grabbed us with your intro, and that was good. My only concern was it was such a vivid intro. I would have liked to have heard that tumor mentioned in the tie back at the end and to say something like, and so, you know, unfortunately this cartoonist couldn't cut it off, but she did leave a legacy of her work for us to enjoy for all time or something. See, so you tie back to the tumor in the end, okay? On your thesis, well done, perfect, happy, cried, inspired. Your SIG statement, you had a review and you agreed with the review, so that was well done. You quoted it nicely. My only suggestion is if you could date the review in 2016 and where it came from, you know, that gives it a little more credibility, okay? On your main body, you were reminded your feeling was happy, and you were reminded of a friend that came to you in a time of great need and said, you know, you're amazing and unique and you don't have to conform and that sort of thing. And you returned to the emotion. You said, when she said those things to me, it made me happy. So you stayed on message of reminding us that you were re-feeling your happiness that you felt at that moment when your friend said that to you. That's felt sensing, okay? So we feel it too, okay? On the second emotion, this was interesting because you said it made you cry or feel sad, and you described a very sad scene in the movie, and then you described the scene of your father seeing you off to school and him turning away when you thought you weren't looking, and you saw some tears coming down his face, and it made you realize that maybe he cared more than you realized. What you should have done was just return to him. That's when I cried. That's why I felt so sad for all the hassles that I gave him during my adolescent years and stuff like that. And trust me, this is a universal thing. When I drove my daughter to school, I cried like a baby after I dropped her off. You know, God, I was hoping she was going to be okay, you know, but I was scared and worried and everything, you know. So, okay, on the third emotion, you felt inspired, okay? And here it was, your mother's story of her grieving for her mother, and you were inspired by the way she handled her grief. And she told you that, you know, you grieve and then you keep it going, right? Yeah. And what I wish you would have done is return to the emotion and said it again. And hearing her say these words made me feel so inspired. Return to the emotion you're communicating. Summary was good. Conclusion, no doubt in this room that the film really moved me. And as I told you, let's do the tumor as a tie back. Your canais, don't panic. Pay attention to the time and remember to walk 3 times. How'd it go?
I think it's pretty well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think you did a good job today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just watch these few things, and you'll do even better next time. Thank you. This is the roll sheet. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from Hugh. No, oh, sorry, it's Grace. Let's hear from Grace. Saved by Grace. No Grace?
Yeah, hey guys, I forgot to type it.
What?
I forgot to type it.
You forgot your tie pin? What does that mean?
That's type it. Type it.
Oh, type it. Yeah, okay. So what'd you do? Write it out longhand?
No, I just didn't type it.
So what are you going to do? Do it from memory? So you're not ready? Okay. Why not? Why aren't you ready? What? You're a bee though, right? You know we're doing B's today. I announced that. And next class we're doing C's. All C's. Okay, back to reality. All right. Let's go to Nikki.
Hi.
You need the green meaning here.
That's.
Say again.
Yeah.
You need it to be stapled. Didn't work. Okay, Nikki stands before you, managing attention. She's reading, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, I'm Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
What if I told you that there's a simple solution to the millions of Americans that are battling heart disease, cancer, and stroke by taking multiple prescription pills, performing dangerous and costly surgeries, and driving this country's healthcare to really high levels? As Hippocrates once said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. This film deals with today I want to share with you a film that really moved me called Forks Over Knives. This film made me feel frustrated, it made me interested, and it inspired me. There's a lot of significant themes in this film that I want to share with you. I agree with Susan Albert's statement from the Huffington Post that says that the film features a lot of credible sources that talk about health. It also examines the question why we don't know, and it deals with the struggle that people have between their diet and their health. The first way this film moved me was that it made me feel frustrated. The incident in the film that frustrated me was when it talked about the doctors that prescribe the people with the diet and health-related diseases with prescription pills instead of talked about the ways that they can help them by adapting to a whole food plant-based diet. The reason this frustrated me was because as a clinical nutrition major, I sympathize with the frustration that registered dietitians face with the fact that a lot of people don't really know the correlation between their diet and their health and how significant it is. Instead of going with the preventative and long-term solution of adapting a whole foods plant-based lifestyle, a lot of Americans are taking multiple prescription pills, which is a short-term and really easy solution. And I believe that that's mostly because they just don't really know how to deal with their diet and their health, and I think that I really want to educate them and give them the proper guidance that they need. The second way this film moved me was that it interested me. The incident in the film that interested me was when the main doctor in the film, Dr. Campbell, met with a man that was overweight, had blood pressure, had cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes, and had him stop taking his prescription pills for about 2 weeks and adapt a strict whole foods plant-based diet. After those 2 weeks, he not only he no longer needed to take the pills and lost weight, but that was due to the fact that a lot of his problems were reversed and lowered just from adapting to a whole foods plant-based diet. The reason that this interested me was because after watching the movie, I became really interested in holistic alternative medicine, and I decided to read a book called Whole Rethinking the Science of Nutrition, which talked more about the benefits of adapting to a whole food plant-based diet. The last way that this film moved me was that it inspired me. The reason it inspired me was because I've always wanted to adapt to a whole foods plant-based diet, but I never really thought of getting the proper nutrients and vitamins that I need if I adapted to that diet. I've been vegetarian for over a year now, but I still eat I still eat a minimal amount of dairy products. I eat fish and I eat eggs. However, after watching Forks Over Knives, I realized that there's a lot of different ways to get plant-based protein, and I'm still able to get the proper nutrients and vitamins that I need by having a plant-based diet. There's no doubt in my mind that this film really moved me. I believe that whether you're interested in becoming vegan due to the ethical reasons of animal cruelty, the health reasons of living a longer life, or the environmental reasons of protecting our planet, or you're just not even interested in becoming vegan at all, that this film will move you all as well and make you frustrated, interested, and inspired. In conclusion, I believe that adapting to a whole food, I believe that after gaining this knowledge, that you'll become, of adapting to a whole foods plant-based diet, you'll live a longer, healthier, and happier life, and you can reverse the preventative diseases that you can get. So it's time to put down the pill and pick up the forks.
Thank you. 429. Okay, let's go to the very back.
Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
I really liked your thing. It feels like you had all the 7 point scale, and you were talking about the different emotions. You made it really clear which one you're talking about, and you really made the practice, so that's good.
Improvement.
My name's Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
I thought everything was really clear in your speech, and I really liked it. But I would prefer that you can elaborate more on your second story, why you were so interested.
Right. Okay. Nikki, liked your topic. and your film, and there's different ones. There's different one of these documentary type films that are out. One about the guy that lived on the McDonald's diet and ballooned up like the, Michelin tire man. Let me say something in an overview. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, what happened in this speech was it became a persuasive speech. You wanted to persuade your audience to go to a plant-based diet, which is cool, and there'll be time for you to do that in your persuasive speech. This was a speech to persuade us that a film really moved you, and to talk more about your emotions. And here I had a little trouble with getting to your emotions, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But that's an overview of kind of the problem I had overall with the speech. So, you started with sort of this provocative statement about how screwed up Americans are, and then you told us the name of the movie, Forks Over Knives, which is very provocative, and you told us it made you feel frustrated, interested, and inspired. And I'm not sure how much of an emotion interested is, but we'll come to that, okay? On your significance statement from Susan Albers, you're quoting the Huffington Post. Remember to throw in the year. And I suppose you started out by saying you agreed with her quote, which was fine. And so you got that part down nicely. So the first emotion that you were trying to communicate was frustrated. And you were talking about the idea that as a clinical nutrition major, you were feeling frustration that people weren't really listening to you or to dietitians. They were opting for quick fixes, right? And what I didn't get was you expressing your own frustration so much and returning to that frustration in the end of your segment, saying, and that's why I felt so frustrated, because you ended up going back to this standard thing of they need to give them the proper guidance they needed instead of getting back to the frustration, which was what you were supposed to do was remember the frustration you felt and do that felt sensing. On the second one, the Dr. Campbell, and you said it made me feel interested. And you told an anecdotal story of a man that was very ill and sick with high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. And he went to, I guess, a Dr. Furman or a plant-based kind of diet and lost weight and didn't need his pills, and I suppose lived happily ever after. And you said this made me interested in the diet. Now, I didn't get much emotion from that. See, I'm interested. Okay. On your inspired, here you talk about the idea that you've been a vegetarian for a year, but you still eat fish eggs and some dairy product. And now you say that the movie has inspired you to try to eliminate that and to just go with the pure, I guess it's called vegan diet. Would that be what it would be? A pure vegan diet? Or what's the, what's the proper
they
term?
use the word vegan in the movie because I think...
I know. But again, the idea was I needed to have you return to the emotion of inspired that you were trying to communicate, and you didn't do that. You needed to have a better summary. So you needed to say, in summary, I've shown you 3 ways the film moved me. It made me frustrated, interested, and inspired. Your conclusion and tie back were all fine. Let's hear about your canais. Make more eye contact and be more engaging. Project my voice louder. Smile while talking. How'd it go?
I don't know if I made that much eye contact,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was okay. But I did go over the time, so
Right.
which is also
That was good. I'd like to see you move a little bit more and more purposefully. A couple steps this way, a couple steps that way, and then back to the center. You're a very likable speaker, so that smiling was helping. And so I think you're very believable. And like I said, remember we talked about in the first class meeting, there are different times and different purposes for why you were speaking. The purpose of this time is to express our emotions and learn to do that to make an emotional connection with our audience. And this wasn't a time to persuade your audience to become vegetarians, okay? Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to Carol.
Murray, but it's all good. It's got my middle name in there too.
Oh, Murray, yeah, sorry.
My evaluation's on the back.
Great.
I stapled it.
Excellent. Very good. She even stapled it for me. Good.
Yep.
Murray stands before you. Power stands a little lighter. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. She's managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Close your computer. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Murray.
Hi, Murray.
I'm going to start off by sharing with you a quote from one of my favorite movie characters of all time. P. Sherman, 42, Wallaby Way, Sydney. It may sound like just utter nonsense, but to me, it has a much deeper meaning. The film Finding Nemo moved me in 3 ways. It made me laugh, it taught me about family, and it inspired me. And today I'm going to share with you how it did those 3 things. In the Time Issue magazine from December of 2003, James Poniewozik, I think that's how you pronounce it, wrote an article entitled, "Has the Mainstream Run Dry?" In it, he went on to say that the mainstream media has been losing viewers in television, but then said that Finding Nemo is the kind of exception that just when you're ready to declare the mainstream dead, it swims up and bites you in the tush. And I couldn't agree more. The first way this film moved me was that it made me laugh. The part that made me laugh is when Nemo swims up to Dory after days and days of searching for him and introduces himself. "I'm Nemo." And Dory goes, "Nemo? That's a nice name." The reason this made me laugh is not only is it inherently funny, but it reminds me of my dad. My dad cannot remember names to save his life. He gets me and my siblings' names mixed up all the time, which really makes me wonder why he had 5 kids in the first place. When he saw this line from Dory in the movie, he started laughing so hard, I thought the couch was going to break. And so now, whenever I'm reminded of this movie, I'm always reminded of that moment, and it makes me laugh. The second way this film moved me was that it taught me about family and taught me to be accepting. I have 4 parents, 6 siblings, and 6 grandparents, but I don't use words like step or half to describe them. They're my family, and I love them. However, I didn't always feel this way. When I was little, my parents divorced, and I thought that my family had completely been torn apart. I didn't accept all the strangers coming into my life. But Marlin lost his family in the beginning of the movie, and by the end, he had a new family, him, Nemo, and Dory. Just in the same way they accepted Dory into their family, I gradually learned to accept my new family. And I'm glad to say it's turned out all right. The last way this film has moved me is that it inspired me. Each of the characters in this film have some issue that they have to contend with. Nemo has an underdeveloped fin, Dory has short-term memory loss, and Marlin has a crippling fear of the ocean that keeps him at home. When I was little, I had brain surgery, twice. I was diagnosed with a cyst in the left side of my brain that gave me incredibly bad headaches, it affected my vision, and it affected my behavior. I had brain surgery once, and all was well until about 2 years later when the symptoms came back worse than before. This movie came out in between my 2 surgeries, and here's what I saw. I saw Nemo swim through that filter and get out alive. I saw Marlin brave the ocean and get through to find his son. And I saw Dory overcome her mental inabilities and remember the words, P. Sherman, 42, Wallaby Way, Sydney. That really inspired me. It got me through the MRIs, the doctor visits. It got me through relearning how to walk after my second surgery. It truly inspired me. In summary, I have told you the 3 ways this film moved me. Made me laugh, taught me about family, and taught me to be accepting, and it inspired me. There should be no doubt in this room how this film has moved me. P. Sherman, 42, Wallaby Way, Sydney may just be a silly made-up address, but to me it has a much deeper meaning, and I hope my story has told you why. Thank you.
356.
Hi, my name is Sushi.
Hi, Sushi.
And Marie, I love you. Lovely unpacked, and your speech, your story is very interesting. And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Yulia.
Hi, you're
I just interested by her speech, and I thought her tone or her emotion are perfect.
Great. Well, this was a really well done speech, Marie. I liked the quote from the movie. It was a grabber, it was a tongue twister, and so it was memorable. So it got your audience's attention, which is what a good intro should do, and you tied back to it at the end, and so that was really good. On your thesis preview, it was just perfect. Finding Nemo, laughed, taught me about family, and inspired me. I'm going to talk about taught me about family, maybe transforming this into a little more precise kind of an emotion. But,
Okay. Yeah, I added in the accepting.
Accepting family, yeah. I think that would have done it. Your SIG statement was perfect. You quoted the date, you quoted Time Magazine, you gave the full author's name, you quoted the full quote, and you agreed with it. So, letter perfect. On the main body, you talked about your father and his inability to remember names, and everybody cracking up on the couch, and in you remembering that funny moment. We remembered it too. So your felt sensing was good, and so we got the feeling of that, you laugh or happiness, that sort of thing. So that was good. On your second emotion, taught me what family is, and like I said, I think this would have, you added in acceptance, and I think that works a little bit better there. On the third emotion, inspired me. This was your best one, and I appreciate you having the courage to share with us a very private thing about having 2, not 1, 2.
Oh, the second one works, so I think we're all good.
Yeah, second time's a charm, huh? 2 brain surgeries, and so that was a well-told story, and you told us how you were inspired by the movie and to go through your rehabilitation, and you had something to live for and some words to get you better. So that was good. Your summary was good. Your conclusion was perfect. Let's talk about your canais, and you were on time. Pace less, stay grounded in the tripod stance. Having even eye contact with both sides of the room, have the hair behind your ears, and wear a colored shirt, not white. So yeah, it's better than, it's gray, but yeah. Okay, yeah, how'd it go?
I kept more eye contact, but it's kind of hard because when you make eye contact with someone, you like forget your words. So
Yeah.
I tried it better. But I think I did better on eye contact.
Yes, you did. You did a very nice job, Murray. Thank you. Okay. That will bring us to Kelly. Hi, Kelly. You have your self-evaluation, or is that to come? Self-evaluation. So you'll bring it next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Well. Kelly's in the power stance, managing attention, communicating respect, saying to herself, I respect my audience, and really meaning it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Yesterday, I was chatting with my Uber driver, and he mentioned that he was recently a full-time driver, but he is looking for some other jobs. And he told me life is struggling. That's true. Life is full of challenges and has its ups and downs. And sometimes we may lose faith. However, we should trust ourselves, and with the support of our families and friends, we can go through anything. And that's what I learned from the film, The Pursuit of Happiness. Today I will tell you the 3 ways it has moved me. It makes me feel sympathetic. It makes me feel nostalgic, and it has inspired me. The first thing it makes me feel sympathetic is it was a spot that the character Chris and his son was driving out of their apartment because he failed to pay the rent, and they became homeless and have to stay overnight in a toilet of a subway station. And regardless of the poor condition, Chris had made his best of what he has to create a bed for his son to sleep more comfortable. And the reason why it has make me feel sympathetic is it reminds me of when I was young. I have saw a little girl begging with her mom, and it was a cold day, but the mom was just facing the cold winds, but the girl was huddling in a corner and wrapped in a quilt. And it seems like the quilt is what they have to keep warm, but the mom just gave her all she had, and I think this what parents always do. So it makes me feel sympathetic. And the second way it makes me move me is it makes me feel nostalgic. There was a spot that Chris tried to make his son to sleep and was telling stories to him. And that reminds me of my father, who was a really good storyteller and used to stay beside my bed before I sleep. And now I have grown up and entered the college away from home, and so I always miss the good old times. So that's the movie
me feel nostalgic. And the last thing it moved me is the film has inspired me. After the six months persistence, Chris finally got a job as a stockbroker, which can makes his good life, and it reminds me of a long distance race I have participated in the high school, and that day was a burning day, and when I was in the middle of the race, I felt exhausted and start to think about quit. But I heard I heard my friends were cheering for me, and I got inspired to have the strength to keep on and just finish the race. And I feel proud that I finally made it and appreciate my friends very much. So in summary, I have told you 3 ways the film has moved me, and from the inspirational life of Chris, I realized that whatever we are going through, we need to keep calm and carry on, and believe that our families and friends will always stand by our side and support us. And that's what will make us stronger. And I hope that every of us can have this spirit, and I wish the Uber driver will find his dream job soon, just like Chris.
Good. Thank you. Stay up there for the feedback. That was 5:31.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
I like your way of storytelling, and you try to tell the story in detail and convey emotion to the audience.
Thank you, Daniel. Improvement?
Hello, I'm Jane.
Hi, Jane.
I'm happy you choose the same film.
I'm not.
Experience and tell me to think of from different ways. And the film, I think you should have less pause and be more confident.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that's why we passed around the sign-up sheet so there wouldn't be any duplicates. Let's talk about your film speech. You started with the Uber driver. You got back to him at the end, so nice tie back. That was excellent. You need to time yourself and to work on your word economy. You spent a lot of time in your intro and up top, so you didn't have a lot of time to do the main body of your speech. Your thesis was good. Your sixth statement, your quote from the New York Times, you skipped.
I forgot.
Yeah, you forgot it, and that would have been helpful. And you said you agreed with the quote. The New York Times didn't like the movie, but that's life. That's what makes the world go round. On your first emotion, the emotion was sympathetic, right? And you referred to Chris having to live in the toilet of the subway station, which was pretty grim. And you remember a little girl begging with her mother on the street back in your country, and that made you feel sympathetic and I suppose sad, but we saw that word picture and you returned and said, and that's why I felt sympathetic. So that was well done. A little long, but well done. Nostalgic was your second emotion. And here you told the story of your father telling you bedtime stories and that he was a good storyteller. And now that you've moved away, you miss his bedtime storytelling. And so that was good. And you said, and that's why I feel nostalgic. So that was good. Again, a little long, but good. Uninspired. You said that you were inspired when you wanted to quit your cross-country race, but your friends were rooting for you. Stay in the power stance. Your friends were rooting for you, and so you finished, and you were inspired by that and by your friends rooting for you. So the emotions that you communicated were pretty good. The felt sensing was good, and mentioned that that's why you felt inspired. When you did your summary, you didn't mention the three emotions, right? You just said 3 ways it moved me. You needed to say sympathetic, nostalgic, and inspired, okay? And that would have reminded us of how it made you feel. On the conclusion, there's no doubt in this room. Yes, that was good. And you tied back to the Uber driver, so that was excellent. Your canais, more fluency, more eye contact, and more gestures. How'd it go?
I think I just have more eye contact.
Yes. Did you time this ahead of time? Did you see how long it was? Did you know it was supposed to be 4 minutes?
Yes, but I'm not very familiar with the speech, and I just I always stop to think what's next.
What you're going to say. Okay. We'll try to time it and get it down more toward the time. The next speech is also 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So, okay. Nice job. Thank you. Okay, and that will bring us to Andrew. There must be something great on your computer screen for you to keep opening it. Jeez. Okay, hi Andrew. Give me a moment to focus. Reset the timer. Andrew stands before you, managing the tension, communicating respect, saying to himself, I respect my audience and really mean it. Fine, friendly eyes near the front of the center, say your name for the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Well, there's a saying that many cultural organizations here at UCLA have, and it really describes why they were founded. That saying is, no history, no self. No history, no self. And this saying wouldn't really have mattered to me that much before I got to UCLA, and this film that I'm about to describe to you wouldn't have mattered that much either. Today, on this sunny day at UCLA, I want to talk to you about not a Marvel or DC movie and not a Disney Pixar movie, but a documentary called Don't Think I've Forgotten, The Lost History of Cambodia's Rock and Roll. Now, this movie talks about the, basically, for lack of a better term, forgotten history of Cambodia's rising rock and roll popularity. And it talks about the not-so-sunny days of how that came to an end from something called the Khmer Rouge. Now, Stephanie Zacharek of The Village Voice, a free newspaper in New York, in her April 2015 review said that, so this film made me feel enlightened, it made me feel heartbroken, and it made me feel very proud. Now, to get back to Stephanie Zacharek, she said in her April 2015 review that the the most beautiful and haunting words of the film were the ones at the beginning, saying, when we were young, we loved to be modern. And that really captures the essence and the theme of this film, as well as the experience of a lot of Cambodian American immigrants that tends to be untold. And so the first way this film moved me was it made me feel very enlightened. Now, in the film, they have many, many interviews with people who perhaps were part of that rising rock and roll movement in Cambodia, or perhaps just really loved rock and roll. And you can tell by the way they describe it and talk about how the songs made them feel that it just really gave them something special on the inside. And this incident moved me and made me feel enlightened because it brought me back to when my mom would drive me to school. And for those of you that don't know, Cambodians, and I think a lot of other Asians really like karaoke, or my parents call it karaoke. But in the morning, every day when we drove to school, she would play basically what sounded like kind of old and karaoke music. And I actually asked my mom one day, "Mom, why do you listen to this old music?" And she said, "I don't know, I like it." And I never realized truly what she had meant until I'd seen the interviews in the film, and I realized, you know, the music that we hold dear today, everyone has a song that maybe they've always listened to since childhood. And for her, it's the music that she listens to in the car. And so I just felt like my mind had been really opened up to seeing the way that my mom sees. And so, you know, maybe one day my kids will ask me, "Why do you listen to Young Thug?" So the second way this film made me feel was a bit heartbroken, because since it's a documentary, it tells about what actually happened in history. And since Samut, who is basically like Cambodia's version of Elvis at the time, today's actually would have been his 84th birthday. The Khmer Rouge regime told him that he was going to perform for the king, and no one ever heard from him again. And this made me feel heartbroken because it reminded me of my dad telling me how he immigrated to the United States. And he said that when the genocide happened, he had no reason to return back. And I could only imagine how it would feel to have my family and all the things I love just stripped from me and not be able to come back from that. And it also made me realize a bit that without that death and destruction, I wouldn't even be here. And so that just made me feel very broken. But the third way that the film made me feel was very proud, because in the end of the film, it discusses how Cambodia is rebuilding its communities, and it just made me very proud to know that I was a Cambodian American, one of those people helping to rebuild those communities. And it reminded me of a time when I had a teacher who I overheard talking about me and said, "Oh, he's just Cambodian, I don't know how smart he can be." And that just made me feel very proud to know that I could prove him wrong. And I think where I've come today, I have. And so, to summarize, this film made me feel very enlightened, very heartbroken, and very proud. To conclude, I hope that by discussing this film and how it made me feel, you guys have learned a little bit about history that tends to be untold. And there's no doubt that it really moved me. And I recommend that you could check it out, because I think it'll move you. And to talk about that saying I talked about in the beginning, without remembering my cultural heritage like the film helped me do, I really wouldn't have realized what no self, or no history, no self, but no history, no self means.
Thank you. 5:42. A little overtime. Okay, we're back here. Yes, please.
I love your voice and
Name?
I'm Ling.
Hi, Ling.
I love your voice and I love the way you speak. And I noticed that you mentioned the saying, no history, no self. You repeat many times. That makes audience easy to understand what you're speaking.
Mm-hmm. That's a clever expression, isn't it? Improvement?
Hello, I'm Emma.
Hi, Emma.
I like your intro, and like what Lin said, you repeat the chord several times and maybe impressed. And for improvement, maybe you could make your speech shorter next time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, you were, I don't know if you timed this or what, but did you? Or?
Okay, so I thought first of all that was 5 minutes.
Oh,
and then secondly I
Yeah.
forgot some of my
Okay,
stuff. So.
let's all repeat. How long is the PC speech? 4 minutes. Let's all repeat that. 4 minutes.
Wait, personal commitment or film?
Personal commitment.
Oh.
Next speech.
Oh.
4 minutes. 4 minutes, yeah. Okay, yeah. Before the dean increased the size of the classes, we had longer speeches, but we have more to get through, so it's problematic now. So that's why we're rushing a little. Gosh, I loved your beginning. I love the quote. It was really excellent. I love the way that you circled back and gave us your thesis preview, because you've forgotten it. So that was good. I liked your SIG statement, your quote from The Village Voice. You even had the date in there. And you distilled it out to when we were young, we loved being modern. Yeah, sort of says it all, doesn't it, for that period, for that group. So on your main body, you said that it made you feel very enlightened, and it reminded you of your mother and her listening to old music, as you put it, and yet you somehow sort of have come to realize that this has some reference to the past or something that gives her comfort in listening to the old music. I wish you had returned to the word, and that's why I felt enlightened, so we stay with the emotion, and it was shorter. Heartbroken, yes. It would break my heart to learn that my family had been wiped out by the Khmer Rouge. Again, and that's why I felt heartbroken and sad when my father relayed this to me. On the teacher or whoever it was that said you're just a dumb Cambodian, and here you are at one of the premier research institutions of the world. I guess you proved you were vindicated, right? Yeah, proved him wrong or her wrong. So that was pretty good, except remember to return back to, the emotion. I'm proud. Summary was good. Conclusion was fine. Tieback was good. Your kanai. Stay in time. Be less casual in speech mannerisms. Be clear and more pleasant to listen to. How'd it go?
Yeah, I was actually watching. So when I watched the YouTube thing last time, I felt like my voice was kind of whiny. So I'm trying to make sure my voice is deeper this time.
Yeah.
I think that went better.
Well, that's part of why we record and listen, is you get feedback and how you appear to the world and how to change that if you want to, and so you make some changes. So you did. I agree with the comment back here. You had a very pleasant voice today, so that was good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. This will bring us to Randy. And Randy, guess what? The battery has expired.